Hello, hello. Recently, I had two people that went to my high school message me. I will say that I did not really know these people during my time at this, at school. And if I did, if I did know these people, which it, it's not. I didn't know them personally. I didn't know their fucking dog's name or their family's name. I knew them on a level of being in a small fucking school and knowing everybody. But that was years ago now, 3 years, 4 years maybe. Um, and a lot has happened in those 3 to 4 years for me personally, and I can only imagine that a lot has happened for these people as well. But I think as any young adult, there's this sense of just not fucking understanding yourself at all, not fitting in with yourself, not um, not necessarily understanding what you want, but feeling what you want. Like feeling those feelings, but not knowing how to not mediate those feelings, but sort of work with them. And I guess for me personally, um, the path of sort of figuring out that has been creative work, a lot of creative work, a lot of study about just interesting topics that are surrounding the world and in our environment, and to really look at everything with a curiosity. What I find very interesting about the whole interaction, more or less, is one of the girls. We won't name drop, of course, but she was a girl I was interested in at a time, or at least texting with. Um, she gave me like my first ever tarot reading. This was when I was younger in high school, or maybe a year after. I don't know. But I didn't really know these people in the sense of like we lived next door to each other. I talked to them in person all the time, like at all. But anyway, I received a message online. I post a lot. I post on YouTube, post on Instagram, and Substack here and there. And I received a text about asking if I was all right, first of all. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I'm all right. How about you? But I got put in a group chat with these two people. So they genuinely were in their own little world. Haven't talked to these people in years, like genuine years. Haven't seen these people in genuine years. They're in their own little world. And they're like, all right, let's check up on Jacob, right? Which is, I can't hate on that. Checking up on people is very good. But what I find very funny is the way they went about it, but also they started talking about how what I'm posting doesn't make sense, and they're worried about my my mental health. Like I'm spiraling to the mental hospital, and I thought it was such a strange interaction because it was all online, and most of my relationships and conversations with these people have been online. So they just know this sort of online persona of me, right? And I'm noticing more and more as I grow into the world. I'm not isolated in the sense of I don't want to work with people or communicate with people, but we are very much isolated from or not isolated, but we're very much separate from the identity we present online. Like I'm presenting whatever I'm presenting to you. I will say I do try to go in a more natural tendency, not catering towards this algorithm that surrounds us on social media and the internet. And you know, I didn't. Okay, got to figure out how to say this. What I find very interesting about this whole thing is me creatively expressing myself in many different ways: guitar, speaking, um, writing, reading, and whatever, painting, drawing. All these things I share, I try to share. And I realize that, hmm, it's a weird realization. It's a good realization, but it's a weird realization to have for oneself is when you sort of get in this repetition of creative work, like I would say I have, where I find something or where I found something in it that I like, a certain style of something, a certain method, and you sort of just fucking run it. You just go with it, and that's what I've been doing. And I've been trying to like really, I guess, for my own sanity, genuinely, to dive and dive deeper into the work and really, you know, figure out what I'm doing here. Because a lot of what I think the surface level uh, reactionary state is of what these two people might occupy, in my opinion, or what the majority of people occupy in or occupy themselves in. It's it's this thing where we read about and we watch movies about, TV shows about these characters, these moments in time where the hero or the the main character sort of goes out on a limb to look, not to do anything but to help, right? um, to express themselves is a better way, and to not exist as if anyone was watching, right? And these are reading, books, and these are movies, and these TV shows. Of course, the whole idea is watching and reading and consuming this world. Now, my argument nowadays is that reality is becoming the camera and the movie simultaneously. It's becoming the observer and the participant. Uh, and what I mean by that is, regardless if you're intentionally doing it or not, we're surrounded by cameras and this field of culture that now thrives off of people recording people fucking up or recording weird little events, right? And in my last talk, I started talking about shamelessness and how this sort of is now existing more because of this reality and the camera thing, and how this ties into what I originally spoke about is I'm trying to play. I don't. Explaining your what you do in your art is never good, and I'm not trying to do that. But I guess when I talk to people about art or their methods or their even their spiritual, uh, the spiritual side of their life, the religious side of their life, the magic side of their life, the witch, all whatever words are embedded in themselves. I try to talk about it because it's very interesting to me. Um, anyway, that's how I wrap up a lot of these creative talks, or my expression on Instagram with posting my art or posting pictures or songs I really like, because what else is it for? Genuinely, I find our usage of the internet to be fucking stupid. Um, we have such a tool to just be here on, not it's not that, like, you can't be with people and create, but I think I think in a way we all sort of feel that fear of being watched and being captured in public. So I think the internet sort of has this ability to allow ourselves to you kind of jump over that sort of gap while also enabling it. It's kind of contradictive, or has a paradox in it, but there's a lot of good in which we can express ourselves and what we have access to learn about via the internet. But what I find is that people are so surface level in their emotions or in their language or in their reactionary states that seeing any sort of creative work or seeing any sort of person in their creative endeavors immediately, yeah, I find this in myself all the time. It immediately triggers a part of you that is like, that's not that no, that's not right. It's not real. And I find myself thinking that sometimes, and it's I have to just go out of the monkey mind and be like, you're contradicting yourself once again. Um, but that's exactly what good art, proper art should do, is make you feel no emotion but the experience. In my opinion, the analysis can happen after. The experience is the now, and a lot of what art nowadays is a very performative, look at me, look at me, look at me. And if you don't agree with me, I mean, I, I think you're wrong, but it involves itself in this state of look at me, look at me, look at me. I have this. I'm rich. I'm rich, man, fuck man. Okay. It's a state of it's almost like a state of not being vulnerable with yourself as the artist, as the creative, and you're focused more on the perspective of everyone's experiencing instead of focusing on your direct experience with what you're creating. I do think there is very, art should never, or art should not always make you feel good or bad or sad or happy. Excuse me. I think art should be in this state of what the fuck, like what am I experiencing? And I think anyone who sort of fucks up your inner dialogue, your mind, because of their pattern, completely just like fucking you up, I think is doing something very good. I think that's what novelty is. Um, I fear that we're not. I fear that novel behavior is going to go few and far between, novel creation, because of this sort of algorithmic state of we find ourselves in, where everything is catered towards an audience rather than the creative person itself. I hope that made sense. Carry on.